Why does this kind of thing keep happening? I mean, seriously, when it comes to spiritual successors like TXK, companies should just know to leave well enough alone by now. Especially a company that's been around as long as... what was their name again? They used to be important. Like, they used to make video games all the time. Taku? I know it started with an A. Titan? Tilla the Hun? No. Here, watch this while I try and jog my memory.
So, anyone here remember Tempest 2000? That awesome little shooter from the Jaguar? Probably one of the best games on the system, if we're being totally honest. It was made by a man named Jeff Minter, who was contracted in 1994 by Atari to create a sequel to their old arcade classic. 20 years later, and Atari is now a relic, a shell of its former self, releasing retro collections every now and again in a desperate attempt at relevance. But where does that leave fans of their IPs? Well, as it turns out, the very guy who helped reboot the franchise once already decided to work his magic once again. Jeff Minter himself and a company of his own creation called Llamasoft recently released a game on the PS Vita called TXK, which, in many ways, is the best Tempest game made in a long time. This is not uncommon. Remember the HD Mario 64 trailer that came out a while back? How about Oregon Trail or Doom RL? I've said it before, but we live in an era where just about anyone with enough passion and devotion can create any kind of game they like because all the tools are so readily available. And fans of the big names are some of the most devoted and passionate people out there. So when those big names aren't delivering what they want, fans these days will just go ahead and make it themselves. Rightfully so, most companies adopt a hands-off policy on this practice. After all, being inspired by another's work and improving on aspects of it that you find lacking is a key part of any creative medium. It's a key part of how we grow, evolve, and become something better than we were before. And any company that tells you otherwise need only take a look through their own catalogs to realize they're being hypocrites. Atari does not feel this way. When they heard about TXK, they were outraged. Simply outraged. They slammed Mr. Minter and Llamasoft with legal papers demanding that not only the future versions of the game never be made for other platforms, but also that the PS Vita version be removed from sale. They accused Mr. Minter of copyright infringement, citing many different similarities between TXK and Tempest 2000, pointing out everything from the shape of the ship and its primary color to the in-game terms, and even claiming that the game is passing off as Tempest 2000 because of its deliberately obscure title. Passing off and being any situation where one product is trying to fool customers into thinking it's something else without actually being that thing. That's an actual legal term in UK trademark law. Now, before I state my opinion on this, I want to lay the facts straight. First off, I am not a lawyer. I've read this document they sent to Llamasoft and Mr. Minter to the best of my ability, and I get the general idea of it all, but I am not the one to ask about how UK copyright law works. However, as much as I hate to say it, coming from the perspective of somebody who's had to copyright something of his own, Atari might have something of a case here if they decide to take this to court. They're focusing quite a bit on visual and audio similarities, which are a lot easier to legally defend versus, say, a gameplay style. Hell, if these guys have any idea what they're doing, they won't even try to call copyright on mechanics. Which they do, by the way, on the jumping ability your ship has in the game. That, however, is the absolute smallest problem with this claim. First off, they specifically state that the audio and sound effects featured in TXK are virtually, quote, indistinguishable from Tempest 2000. Really? Let's put those side by side and see if you guys out there can tell me the difference. Second, there's a bit of a skip in Atari's logic with this move, considering that they let the trademark for Tempest expire in 2006. They don't even have the legal rights that they're claiming they do anymore. And third, even if they do take this to court, what exactly do they plan to gain from this? Atari has made it abundantly clear that they do not care about this IP. They are neither in the process of making a new Tempest game themselves, nor trying to push Tempest as a viable and healthy brand name in 2015. And I'm sorry, but when an engine like Unity is available for anyone in the world to download right now for free, if you're not willing to step up and remain the king of your market, you are not allowed to throw a hissy fit when someone comes in and takes your crown, especially when it will only result in you sitting on your hands for another 2 decades while you continue to not do anything. This is copyright trolling, pure and simple. Atari has absolutely nothing to gain from this, and even if they did, when this becomes an industry where games like War for the Overworld can't exist, all it does in the end is hurt the player. So if you agree with what I'm saying here and you do own a Vita, do everybody here a favor. Go buy TXK, because we as consumers have a vested interest in rewarding companies that actually care. And it's becoming increasingly clear that Atari is not one of them.
Now I've just got roundabout stuck in my head. No, it's not coming to mind. Sorry, guys.